This conference will
I'm
now
just
be
kidding.
recorded.
Um, so I guess the reason why I've been asked to come and speak about falls and about assessment tools is probably because I teach at Aurora College. So my name is Wanda Roberts, and I am the senior instructor. I'm responsible for the personal support worker program and the community health representative program as well. And I'm thrilled to see so many familiar faces and names here today. I was a little bit nervous, I'm not going to lie. Even though I've been teaching for 12 years, I still get a little bit nervous before I have to speak to a crowd. So it's really nice to see some really friendly faces and hear some friendly voices. Um, and I had put in for 15 minutes worth of introductions as part of my 25-minute presentation. So no, I'm just kidding. So um, I moved to Yellowknife in 1994. I was here, I figured I was only coming north for a year or two. And then I met my husband and I got married and I stayed. And so I worked in long-term care here in Yellowknife for 15 years as a nurse. Really, really loved working with seniors, and I still do. That was the place where I found that I was most comfortable and really enjoyed and brought me the most, probably the most fulfilling part of my career was working with seniors. And in 2008, I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to share what I knew here at the college. And so Bree and I talked about how this session was going to look. And I really don't love to sit and talk about my knowledge so much as I like to generate discussion and I like to facilitate discussion. While I have some experience as a nurse and as an educator, I know that everybody on this call and on this video conference also has experience and knowledge to share. And so you really didn't want 25 minutes of me talking about what an assessment tool. Trust me, I've done that to students in my classroom before, and it's not very engaging. So what we're going to do, we'll talk a little bit about the use of assessment tools, and then I'm actually going to ask for your experience. I would really like for this to be a discussion as opposed to me talking for 25 minutes. So the little preamble, I guess, or the beginning of this is thinking about elders in your community. What I'd like you to think about for the next 25 minutes are elders that you know. And I want you to think about how you know when someone might be at risk for falls. What kinds of things what things do you notice about them or observe? What do you do in your community to help decrease people's risk for falls? And what kinds of hazards do you see in people's lives that might cause falls? And I think that's probably a lot of questions for 25 minutes. So just some things to think about before we get started. Is that those are some of the questions I'll be throwing at you in a few minutes here. So we know that elders are at higher risk for falls than younger adults based on not only age alone, because actually age doesn't have to be a risk factor for falling. Um, but why do you think that older adults are at risk for falls? Feel free to unmute and to give me some ideas of what you think or to type it in the chat.
As you get older, your stability isn't as good.
Yeah,
I know,
absolutely.
and some of your seniors have had like hip surgeries, knees, so that's why.
That's right. Thank you, Gloria. Absolutely. So sometimes it's about as we age, our gait or the way that we walk changes. So sometimes that puts people off balance as well. And as Gloria mentioned, sometimes there's health issues like joint replacement surgery that can put people at risk. And I see Tracy's written in the chat that people are maybe not as active, so balance or coordination might be lost. Do you think that balance and coordination are important to preventing falls? Yeah, I see some nodding heads.
Very.
Absolutely. So when we think about risk factors for falls, can you tell me how do you recognize that people are at risk for falling? Think about the elders in your community and people that you know might be a falls risk. What do you notice about them?
I notice some of them don't lift their feet as high anymore. They kind of shuffle.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for that. So maybe people shuffle, they don't lift their feet as high. So then that creates a tripping hazard, right?
Yes, especially when the ground's uneven, or if you've got a doorway that has a sill in there or whatever, a step up.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
going up steps is
You'll
difficult.
see them walking with canes too.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe not lifting their feet as high, and Gloria said maybe walking with canes. So when people are using mobility aids, do you think that that puts them at higher risk for falls? Why do you think that might be?
Because they have to move it and lift it as well as their feet. They don't have as good coordination with the feet and the hands, and
Yeah.
they just lose a lot of mobility.
Sometimes, absolutely. Well, and I think about myself, I'm not very coordinated personally. I can't walk and talk at the same time. So then you think about people having to use mobility devices and manage to walk and concentrate on maybe lifting their feet. So these things that maybe we do when we're younger, it takes maybe more we have to sort of have more things to think about when we have mobility devices like canes or walkers. And I see that Bree has written in the box, change in lifestyle and retirement can make it hard to continue active living the way we always have. So sometimes we don't move as much when we're not kind of forced to, in terms of having to go to work and to be active in that sense. I don't know about anybody else. During COVID, I found my workplace, I have to climb 2 flights of stairs to the third floor every morning to get to my office. When I was working from home, I didn't have to walk upstairs, and I actually found that really hard. Though I walk every morning, I found it really hard to climb those stairs the first few weeks back to work. So if we don't use it, we lose it pretty quickly, right? And that's sometimes not necessarily a matter of aging. It's a matter of not using those muscles, right? Tracy said maybe people are more cautious when moving. Are you able to expand on that a little bit? Did you want to unmute Tracy and elaborate a little on what you mean when people are a little bit more cautious when moving?
Well, I just noticed with elders and with older individuals that um, even myself, because I have early onset Parkinson's, if I'm in a new environment or I'm in an environment that I'm not familiar with, then or as familiar with, then I'm a little bit hesitant when I'm approaching stairs or approaching a ramp or approaching uneven ground or even just a change from concrete to gravel because my perception of things is a little bit different. So yeah, I'm a little bit more cautious, more hesitant, I guess.
Thank you for sharing that, Tracy. Absolutely. And you think we think about that caution or hesitation sometimes makes us tense up a little bit, and actually being fearful of having a fear of falling is actually a risk factor for falls because we're more cautious and maybe a little bit more fearful. We can actually that can actually put us at greater risk for falling as well. And thank you for mentioning the perception changes. So that's true when someone has Parkinson's or other disorders as well. But it can also, what about visual impairment? So people maybe who have vision loss or impaired vision, that can be certainly a big risk factor for falls. Maybe if the depth perception, so the ability to see how far away things are, that can certainly impair people's ability to really see where they're stepping. I see that Marlene has said not wearing proper footwear. Do you want to explain that a little bit, Marlene? What do you see people wearing that maybe puts them at risk? or maybe not. So does anybody else want to try that out? What footwear do you see people wearing that might actually be a bit of a falls risk or put them at risk for falls?
Okay, Wanda, I agree with that because I find if I'm wearing a pair of shoes that's a good pair of shoes, I don't slip as often. But if I'm, of course, during the summer I wear sandals,
Yeah.
and so I don't really have a lot of support. And I find if I'm wearing sandals, I watch when I'm going up and down stairs, like it just doesn't work. Anyhow, that's my personal opinion as a senior.
Yes, thank you, Pat. Absolutely. No, that's valuable. That's absolutely valuable because sometimes um, different shoes provide different functions, right? And sometimes they're not necessarily effective for falls prevention or going up and down stairs for sure. I see that Marlene has also written shoes might not have the proper grip, so maybe they don't have a good non-slip bottom on them. Sometimes I see seniors wearing socks inside on slippery floors, and so that can be a slipping factor. What about for people? Yeah, go ahead, Bree.
Oh, I was just going to say, Wanda, that one of the things I've heard through doing a lot of the Elders in Motion workshops is that is different perspectives. Some people find that a good running shoe is the best for them, but those who have maybe worn Chemics or moccasins their whole life find that their running shoes actually, they can't feel the ground under their feet, they say, and so that actually makes them fall more. So I think wearing something that you're used to is also a big factor.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, and I was just thinking as well, it's really dependent on the individual. What do they find works best for them? Because it's actually not my place to decide what works best for Marlene or for Kim or for Carol. Each person has their idea of what would be the best footwear for them. As Pat mentioned, right? Pat, you know exactly which ones work well for you and which ones don't. And really, so it's individual. And it's about finding out from that person what works best for them. I also think about elderly people who maybe have, or older, as I say, elderly people. So I actually have a bunion on my foot. So I'm saying elders, but it's not just older adults who have foot issues, right? So people who maybe have bunions or maybe have some issues with their feet being whether it be swollen with fluid from illness or just from fluid retention. They may have to buy footwear that's way bigger than what they actually need for their feet in order to accommodate maybe disproportionate feet. So that can actually put them at risk for falls. I think about a lady I knew who had some misshapen feet, and she had to buy footwear that was this much too long for her feet. So if you can't see, it's probably about her shoes were about 6 inches longer than her foot was in order to accommodate the width of her feet because there was no place in town to get proper footwear. Do you think that put her at a huge falls risk? Absolutely. It was like wearing snowshoes that couldn't actually clip on her feet, and so it was a huge tripping hazard for her actually. What about seniors that you might see walking down the road? Say you see an elder walking down the road in your community. How might you know from watching her that she might be at risk for falls?
Lily, I'm curious what your thoughts are. You have so many good ideas and have been doing Elders in Motion so long. I'm wondering what your thoughts are.
I see that people are comfortable with the chat box, which is good. So Ariel actually said shuffles their feet. So somebody who maybe shuffles their feet, maybe has an unsteady walk, so they look a little bit wobbly maybe when they're walking. Their posture. Erin, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? What do you mean by their posture?
Gloria actually said it and she just walked away.
She threw you under the bus.
Maybe when she's back, she can explain.
What I think about posture, I think about someone with a stooped over posture, maybe, right? So it puts their center of gravity off a bit. Is that maybe what you were thinking, Gloria? Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
So Dolores has said anyone using a walking device, a cane or a walker, and also get Kenzie to demonstrate for us. Aaron's daughter, got it. I'm like, who's Kenzie? So if Kenzie would like to demonstrate, that would be very cool. Lisa said people walking too much or carrying too much when walking. So maybe carrying lots of groceries, bags, heavy things. People who are on phones, busy. Have you ever seen people walking down the street looking down at their phones, looking down at things in their hands? Yeah. Well, and how many of you are waving because you're guilty of it? So not paying attention to where we're going, that can be a huge tripping hazard, right? So I guess how does this tie into elders in motion? I guess thinking about the elders maybe who come to your programs, people who, sorry, I just have to close the chat just for us. Oh, sorry, trying to work and walk at the same time. That's what Kim said, or people with poor vision or eye issues. So when you think about the people who come to your programs, you are all involved with Elders in Motion programming. What can you do in your programs to reduce the risk of falls for people who are coming to your programs?
Pat here. I think one of the things that we could do, and we probably don't do it enough, is set up programs, exercise programs. Like right now we have yoga coming up in the fall, but I think, like, I'm a senior, so I know that we haven't, because of the pandemic, there's been no swimming, but I tend to try to get into the swimming program and the aquasize, and I find it's really good for balance. And I find when I'm doing it, I'm not so prone to falling. So I think a lot of it could be looking at exercise programs that are helping balance and people just basically coordinating their activities and maybe being more aware of where your body is when you're walking. Anyhow, that's my opinion.
Absolutely. Pat, actually, you should be running this webinar. I think it's great. Absolutely. So do you think then that strength and balance exercises would be good to help reduce falls risks? I see that someone has put no rugs. So what kinds of rugs in particular might be fall hazards?
Rugs that turn up, because I have actually tripped on a rug. And
Yeah.
if you're going to put a rug in, you better put some sort of adhesive underneath it so it sticks to the floor. Because if it doesn't, somebody gets their foot underneath that end of the rug and they'll fall for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
area
So
rugs.
throw rugs. Yep.
Sorry, it's Velma here. Area rugs are very bad for falling with the elderly.
Absolutely. Because they do turn up at the sides quite a bit, right? So certainly for programming, if you're looking at running Elders in Motion, making sure there's no throw rugs around or if there are, that they're secured to the floor, as Pat suggested, is a really good idea. Good lighting and handrails are also good suggestions. Good lighting where? Pretty much everywhere, right? Well lit stairs, bathrooms. Kim said that they do a core exercise that's about the core and practice to stand up and sit down. So getting to the actual official assessment, sorry, Bree, I haven't gotten back there yet. The standing up and sitting down, how vital do you think that is to preventing falls? To have really good core muscles. So core is your belly and muscles in your legs and your hips and your buttocks that will help you stand up and sit down. How important do you think those are to prevent falls? Somebody said important. Thanks, Tracy. So yes, it is very important. So when we look at, I guess the assessment tool that I was going to mention was the Tug Assessment. So you guys are all facilitators with Elders in Motion. You would all, or you would all have some awareness of some of the assessment tools that are used to help assess somebody's risk for falls. So risk assessments, what is the value in doing a formal assessment, do you think? Sometimes I don't know either. It's okay. So some of the value is in being able to recognize why, what is causing falls for that person, or what puts them at risk for falls. Do we have to do a formal assessment? Not always. Sometimes we just know, right? Because all of the things that you mentioned, you see people maybe with unsteady, uh, uh, maybe unsteady on their feet, or they have poor balance, or they're maybe they have to hold on to furniture as they're walking through the room. Those are all tips. They all tell us that's not necessarily a formal assessment, but it all informs us that somebody might be a falls risk, right? Someone who's unsteady, someone who maybe trips a bit on area rugs, or is maybe having some issues climbing stairs. We know then that they need some help to establish better balance, strength, mobility, or strength, flexibility, and balance are really key to preventing falls. And I do recognize not everybody is Elders in Motion trainer. I apologize for making that assumption, but absolutely. So Amanda wrote that falls assessments are a benchmark to where you're starting. So we're going to assess where somebody's at in order to know when our program is helping them, right? Or when we're getting stronger. So even if we're evaluating ourselves or a loved one, it's not so much about sitting with a pen and paper and evaluating them, but it is about recognizing them when we're helping them to decrease their risk of falls, and when we know that our program is actually helping to make that change. So the Tug Assessment is a very quick assessment that uh, is a pretty common assessment to establish whether or not someone's at risk for falls. And I would assume that Bree would be able to send out to you after this session just a copy of the assessment. It's very, very quick and easy to use. And maybe I will ask you to make me the presenter, and we'll have a quick glimpse at the assessment and sort of go through what the criteria is. And you know what? It actually hits on all of the things that we talked about in terms of creating a falls risk. Sorry, I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, that is the wrong thing though. That's not what we were going to look at. I have about 500 things open on my desktop. So we're actually just going to have a little look here at the tugged up and timed up and go tug assessment. So basically what we get is we have someone to wear their everyday footwear. So as we mentioned, that would be whatever works for that person and whatever they're most comfortable in, whatever they feel gives them the best stability. So the person that we're doing the assessment on is going to sit in a chair that has armrests on it. So they're going to sit with their back against the back of the chair, their arms resting on the chair's arms. And what we're going to do when they're sitting in the chair, we're going to measure a spot on the floor 3 meters away. So if you can see that right there, we'll mark off a line on the floor, and we're going to ask that person to basically all they're going to do is stand up out of the chair, walk to the line that's 3 meters away, walk back to the chair, and sit back down. It's a very, very easy and quick assessment to do. Why is it? What it does is it tells us how mobile someone is and how much of risk for falls they might be. And so when we look here on the test scoring, people who can do it very, very quickly have high mobility. And so it means that that person actually is probably not at a very high risk of falls, as you see in the description here. So if it takes them 11 to 19 seconds, they might be a moderate risk for falls. They might have some challenges with moving quickly. And then somebody who takes longer than 20 seconds would be the highest risk for falls. Bree said that she could do a demo, and maybe what we'll do is get you to Bree. I apologize. I'm not in a place where I can actually do a demonstration, but the assessment, do we have to do it exactly as on here? Well, they do say that that sort of indicates what the times are. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm going way, way over. And I'm not sure how to give Bree back the, how do I make you the presenter again now? I see. So that's a quick look at the tool, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what it looks like. And essentially, do we have to use it? That depends on your program, I guess, and whether you're doing a formal evaluation. But the key takeaway is the slower that people are able to get out of a chair, the more assistance that they require, and the slower that they are, that the higher risk for falling. So I will let Bree. So Bree is going to be our elder. We're going to ask her to stand up and to walk for 3 meters from her chair and turn around and walk back to the chair and sit back down again. Thank you, Bree. And I see that Erin is clapping for you. You did a very, very good job. So I guess that's all I have for my little piece of this. And I apologize, I didn't have a demonstration planned simply because I was thinking about people on the phone. But I did want to make sure that I at least showed you the assessment so that I can say that we went over it, right? That was sort of the point. I'm going to hand it back to you, Bree.
Great. Thank you so much, Wanda. So I am super grateful to Wanda for supporting the Elders in Motion program. And I think it's really important to talk about assessments because for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is it's really important to kind of know where our elders are at. But I think the other reason it's important for us to talk about is because a lot of us work in healthcare and assessments are typically mandatory for healthcare. But I have also noticed that assessments are a little bit of a tension point for a lot of people also. So I just thought that talking about assessments and sharing with each other kind of how we do assessments or maybe what some of our fears or hesitations around assessments might be is a really good starting point to figuring out maybe a culturally appropriate way, learning a little bit more about assessments of how to make sure that we keep our elders safe and prevent falls. So what I would like to do is maybe give a 5-minute break. So I'll give everyone a chance to kind of just get up and move your body a little bit. And then when we get back, we can, or maybe if you want to take that 5 minutes to come up with a question for Wanda or think about kind of how you do assessments in your community. So maybe at 2:20, my computer says it's 2:17. So at 2:22, we'll come back to the chat here and we'll have a little bit of a question period and a sharing session about our program and about assessments. So move your bodies, get out of your chairs, and I'll see you in a bit.
Oh, hey, Cam.
What's going on?
Taught what class is follow? Casey?
Huh? Oh yeah.
Now, so many
For whatever
not
reason,
walking anymore because we don't see you now.
yeah, I don't go that way. Sorry, but I do see Wanda every morning
Oh, really?
with her and her friend and their little dog. So
Yeah, we
it's all good.
haven't been walking at all, I think. Although I guess NJ isn't really that much further than Julie's house. I guess maybe we could, but we seem to always be
Yeah,
running late.
well, and like my walk in the morning now is at 6:15.
Yeah, no, we
So
ain't getting up at that time.
not running at that time.
No, no, thank you.
What else is going on?
I'm just teaching a lot this week, so
Yeah, I noticed.
like seven fitness classes this week and 2 Rec North courses. Yeah.
So that course with Wanda, I think it's next week or the week after.
Oh, on the 20th, yeah, Wanda's doing our facilitating online.
But what's it for?
So it is going to be like recreation based.
Okay.
And so tips and tricks to what works best when you're trying to engage people online and keep them captivated while you're doing a program or whatever.
Okay.
So, yeah, register for that. And then the other one that I'm going to have the following week, which it should come on our social media shortly, on the 27th, it'll be 8 simple tips for engaging people in person. So the 20th will be online stuff, and the 27th is going to be when you're teaching in person. So if you ask a question, how do you get people to answer, be interested, kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yes, the area has lots of webinars coming out.
Yeah, so I'm just filling out the one that Wanda's doing right now. Okay.
Seen lots online lately.
Huh?
She's been teaching lots online lately, Wanda.
Yeah, I know. So is everybody.
This is true.
Sorry, Wanda.
All I heard was an apology. What were you apologizing for?
That you're teaching online.
Oh, yeah. It's a different world.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just registering for your webinar on how to be active online.
Oh, I'm gonna have to step it up a little bit.
Actually,
Facilitating online is very different than facilitating in a classroom.
yeah.
It's harder to engage people and get people to talk and to contribute, and so it is challenging.
Oh, I know I was doing so during COVID. So the strength and balance class I've taken online, plus teach here twice a week. And it's just, it's getting, yeah, it's interesting. You kind of forget that people are like watching you and you're like talking to the crowd that's in front of you. And it was like, oh, crap. Because I have no filter, just so everybody knows.
I think that's why people love your sessions, Kim.
Oh, who been watching? Oh, thanks, Bree.
That's true.
Yeah, I got no filter.
You have a lot of people that always want them hip shaken at your center. At least
Oh,
that's what
they're
they
all
always
about
ask
hip.
for when I taught dance. Can we get more hippie action, Amanda?
Oh yeah. Actually, okay. So do you know the new? It's kind of like Zumba, but it came out of South Africa.
I haven't seen it, but
Yeah, you probably have. What's it called? Jerusalema. Anyway, I'll send you a link. Anyway, so now I've got 10 seniors practicing doing this. It is like the ball.
That's amazing.
Yeah, go look it up. It's and you want hip action? Come watch these guys. Come on.
So, I'd like to get going again. Hopefully everyone is back. I can see that our video people are back, but hopefully our people on the phone are also back. I would love to maybe just open it up and see if anyone has any questions for Wanda about assessments and about falls risk, or kind of watching our elders for falls risk. Are there any questions out there? So my next question, to kind of get the, I guess, sharing and co-learning going, is to see if anybody remembers doing the Tug Assessment training at Elders in Motion, or if anybody has actually tried doing the Tug Assessment with their elders. Has anyone done the Tug with their elders in their community or in their organization? Okay, so it sounds like all of us have maybe kind of heard about it in the past, but don't remember specifically. So what I would love to do, I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes to think about it, but I thought to kind of get everyone's ideas going and get some sharing going, we could do maybe a little bit of a round table, put you guys on the spot a little bit. And so some of the questions, I thought we could each share one thing. So whether it's a question about assessments or about kind of watching our elders to make sure that we're keeping them safe, or to watch to see if anyone's at high risk of falls. So if you have a question, maybe you have an issue in your community, you know that some people are high risk and you don't know what to do about it, or maybe your employer has told you you have to do assessments and you're feeling nervous about it. So it could be a question or an issue, or it could be a tip. Maybe you have done assessments, maybe it's not the Tug, maybe it's something else and it's worked really well for you. Or maybe you just have a different way of keeping track of your elders, and that's something that you want to share with the group. So one of 4 things. I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes to kind of think about it, but we'll go around, do a round table with a question, an issue, or a tip, something that you've done. Kim is avoiding the question. She's going to be right back. So Pat has unmuted herself, so I'm going to put her on the spot, and Pat, you can go first.
Okay, I'm just sort of like, we have an association where we meet for games and crafts and meals and, you know, social items. But every once in a while, like, I have a friend that I know is in trouble, but how do you go about getting help without offending them? Like, I mean, is it really my business? You know, you go, is it my business to do this? I mean, maybe she knows she's in trouble.
So that's an amazing question. Thanks, Wanda. And I think most of us have that question. Does anybody have any experience or advice? Pat's question, in case you didn't hear it, was that she has a friend who is an elder that she knows is at high risk of falls. She knows they're in trouble, but doesn't know whether it's her place to say something. How do you help this person? Does anybody have any ideas for Pat?
Velma here. Well, if it's a friend, I think you should know whether or not they would be agreeable to getting it, but taking advice from you regarding their issues. Otherwise, I don't know, just approach it in a way that is kind of like making them think about it, maybe. I don't know, really. But I would think if it's a friend, you should know whether or not you can approach them with those types.
Thanks, Velma. I'm sorry, Rena, I'm going to put you on the spot. Rena has been involved in health and assessments and helping elders for a long time. So I'm curious, Rena, what your thoughts are on this situation. If she's still there.
I think Rena was having problems with her microphone.
Okay. So something that Tracy has said in the chat, she says she has had no problem conducting assessments as long as she's been transparent and explained everything involved with the assessments and why they are being conducted. So she's also given everyone the option of refusing if they want. Oh, Rena, you're here. Okay, Rena, I wonder if you have any advice for Pat. And if your speaker's not working, if you can chat some or type something into the chat. And while you're doing that, I also had an idea. I thought that, you know, I have not been an elder, of course, but I have been in a lot of brain injury groups where we kind of have similar issues. And one of the things that was the most effective for getting these kinds of assessments done is just bringing it to the group and saying, you know, some of us are struggling with our injury. So I guess, you know, in a similar way, you could say, we're getting older. Some of us, our abilities are changing. Some of us, you know, is everyone interested in having someone to come in and do an assessment so that we all know where we are? And so kind of approaching it as something that everyone might be facing so that you're not targeting one person. That's one way to do it if you don't feel that you have the relationship to approach them directly. I don't know, Pat, is that something that you've tried?
Yeah, she's a friend, but I wouldn't say she's a close friend. She's not a friend that I would say, hey, you need help. But it's sort of like you see it and you go like, do I go to public health? Like I don't do assessments. So,
Right.
but somebody needs to assess it, and I'm not, do
Right.
public health go and see her? Like, she's certainly not going to go, and she certainly won't go if I say something.
For
Anyhow.
sure. I would suggest, you know, I don't think it's, and it sounds like you mentioned that there are a couple of different um, exercise programs and group get-togethers with the senior society. So I would suggest maybe, I know that in Hay River there are people who are trained in Elders in Motion, for instance, and I could find you a list of those trainers if you were interested, and you know, just see if one of those people is willing to come in and do an assessment of everyone, or kind of pose it to the group. You know, as a group, is this something we are interested in doing to make sure that we are all kind of staying safe and seeing what level of fitness is appropriate for us? That would be one idea.
Bree, that is a great idea. And if you can send me the list of the people that do the assessments, I would appreciate it, because it would be great to have somebody come and talk to the seniors as a group. Good idea. Okay, thanks.
Awesome. So we're doing a little bit of a roundtable for those who kind of have maybe left and then rejoined. And we're kind of going around the table to see if anyone has a question, an issue, or a tip regarding assessments. And so Dolores and, sorry, I forgot your first name, Ariel, I think. Dolores and Ariel are next on my screen. I think Ariel is typing, if I remember correctly. Their mic doesn't work. So Ariel, maybe while you're typing, I'll come back to yours in a minute. And Tracy, we'll go to you next, and then we'll come back to Dolores and Ariel.
I'm sorry, I stepped away for a moment. I missed what we're supposed to be doing.
That's okay. We can come back to you too. So we're doing, to get a little bit of a sharing going on and helping each other with our programs, we're doing a bit of a roundtable, and each person you can pass if you want to, but if you've got a question about assessments and kind of determining the falls risk of your elders and community. So question, issue, or a tip. Maybe it's something that you don't have an issue with and it's something you're really good at. So we're doing a roundtable with question, issue, or tip. And Rena has said that the risk assessment is very important because it gives an idea about your elders, because I don't know all the elders' condition for sure. It's actually really fun too because the elders enjoy it too, is what Rena said. And Tracy says she commented, oh, perfect, in the box. Perfect. And Rena said it gives you a chance to get to know the elders too. So Tracy said she doesn't have an Elders in Motion program going on, but is interested in starting. And she's had no issue conducting assessments. So it sounds like her tip is that we really need to be transparent. She's been very transparent and explained everything involved with the assessment and why they're being conducted, and giving people the option of refusing. So I think that that's also a good response for Pat as well, is if you kind of say, you know, this is an idea, and once you're doing it, to just be very transparent about it, and this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. And we've noticed some people are maybe struggling, and you know, you can refuse if you want to. I think that that's really great. And I love Rena's feedback that it gives you a chance to get to know each other. And I know Rena through the RPA, and if I've learned anything about Rena, she probably has included humor and laughter into her assessments. And I think that that's really important too, to make sure that the person doesn't feel like they're under the microscope, but to try and make it fun and a way to get to know each other, and not too serious. You know, not everything has to be really serious. So next on my screen is Erin and Gloria.
Well, we don't have a program either right now. I need to chat with you about getting the training.
Sorry.
But just listening to the conversation though will be good, I think, for down the road when we can get something in, to know these things ahead of time. And this is Kendall.
Erin, do you think that the elders in your community would be receptive to assessments, or is it something that you think you would need to go at in a roundabout way?
I'm not real sure. At this point, I'm kind of even wondering if they'd be interested in me doing a program for them. So, because they kind of do their own thing. So maybe not right away.
For sure. What kind of things are they already doing in your community?
Well, right now, nothing. They were doing basically just a coffee in the morning where they sit and play card games and chat. And then they would do like a monthly lunch. Other than that, they don't have any other programs that are happening. We were providing like a chair yoga, which was for anybody, but we did have a few older ones coming, which I thought was really good. So I wanted to add to that and get like an Elders in Motion program actually running.
Yeah, awesome.
Love to see.
One of the things that our last session we talked about, and people had really amazing ideas. I don't know if Liz is still on our call. I know she was having trouble with her speakers and stuff, but last month, people had really great ideas about kind of looking at what's already existing in the community and seeing if you can build on that. And Liz had a really great suggestion of, if the elders are not used to, or people in general are not used to doing specific exercise programs, kind of incorporating exercise into what they're already doing so that it doesn't feel like it's time for exercise now. If you say we're going to do a walk together to go check out the weather or check out kind of what's happening in the community right now, and then have your coffee, or if you have the coffee at a spot where you need to walk up a flight of stairs, or incorporating these kinds of things into what's already existing so that it starts to just feel positive to be mobile and starts to feel positive to be active before you kind of introduce something that might be really different. That was one of the things that I found a really positive learning piece from the group last month. And I would love to, as I already mentioned, pressure you and chat with you about doing the training. So we have another chat in here. So Dolores and Ariel said, is there a group that we can access to advocate for more resources in a community if there's a lack of safety access for individuals who are at risk for falls? Yes. So Dolores and Ariel, I think it depends on what kinds of safety access you are speaking about. So this might be of interest to everyone, and probably something I should have mentioned. So thank you for bringing it up. But the injury prevention portfolio at the Department of Health and Social Services, they actually have funding to get mobility devices and kind of safety devices into communities. I can't quote exactly how much funding per community is there, but I do know that it's funding that's not accessed very often. So if there is particular devices that you feel that you need, or a particular training that you would like, there's definitely resources for you within the injury prevention department. And right now, it might be a little bit hard contacting them. I'll still give you the information, but their division has changed a little bit. The injury prevention portfolio used to be very straightforward. They have kind of dissolved the name of it, even though the funding is still there. So if anyone has questions about safety access, I'm happy to be a contact or kind of a go-between for you and the department when it relates to elders' safety. And I will also send the contact information to everyone for Mabel is her name. But I think that you would go through your regional health coordinator to access that. So I can put all of that information for you guys in the follow-up email. Dolores and Ariel, let me know if I answered your question. So our next person is Brenda Penny, and we are going through with either a question or an issue or an idea or tip when it comes to risk assessments.
Hi. Actually, my question was already asked and answered. Mine was about when you see an elder out in the community, how to approach an elder that I feel is at risk of falling. So yeah, it was already answered already.
Thanks, Brenda. It sounds like maybe a specific resource around that might be useful for people, is how to approach that topic, which I can definitely look into. So Carol had typed into the chat, and I wonder if Carol also had a question, issue, or tip, but she says in the chat, if you are a new support person to the program, it is a great tool to know who would need support without asking a lot of questions. Yeah, that's a great point. So doing an assessment can really help us to kind of get to know the person and get to know what they need, what kind of support they need. Carol, I'm curious if you, I guess, as a support person, about your experience in that area.
One of the things is that the assessments, like here at Avens, we have assessments, and before doing any physical activities or anything like that, normally we review and we see what their score is. So it helps us to know whether they need more support during the program. For their keeping an eye on their gait when they're coming to the programs and things like that, seeing how steady they are. And one of the things is just making sure that the area where we're having the activity is a safe area, everybody's safely distanced apart, and all that's checked into. One of the things was balloon badminton, because we do it in a circle, and if we use the rackets, we make sure that the chairs are far apart enough that nobody's racket could hit anyone else's racket. But not only that, is that knowing the difference, who's left-handed and who's right-handed. Because if two people are, one's left, one's right, and they're close together, then, or they're going to connect. And then the other opposite, so if they're right and the other person's left, there's a lot more room on the other side, because, yeah. So just knowing the residents beforehand going into the program helps, and without constantly, because we have 3 coordinators here, if each coordinator went up to them and asked them the questions, it's a bit daunting for them. So one of the things would be just being able to review it, look at it, understand it, and then be able to apply it when they're doing an activity. And it's like one-time assessment, and if it happens to change, then you could go back and, well, for us, we would talk to the nursing staff and say that we've noticed that this person isn't the same as what their assessment says. So that's it.
That's awesome, Carol. Thank you. I am wondering if you can answer, because I know that some people, it seems like people are feeling a little bit nervous about approaching those who they think might be at high risk. And so in your experience, how have elders responded to assessments? How do they seem to feel having assessments done or having someone approach them about safety?
One of the things here is that just introducing yourself to the resident beforehand and letting them know what your job is, and that you're there to support them, and to be able to support them better is coming to know what their abilities are and things like that, and making them feel comfortable about it. It's not, you don't make it feel like it's a complete assessment over again, but you're just coming to know them and having conversation with them, and that to be able to do what you've come to do. And if you do feel a bit uneasy, you just sort of you could change the topic and then come back and ask the question later. One of the things is that being able to come to know them and make them feel comfortable with you, they, most of the time, they're more than happy and willing to answer the questions that you have for them. And when you tell them that, for me, when I do the balloon badminton program, I let everyone know that this is the way we're running the program because of safety. And several times I've had to change the residents around because of the left, right, left situation. So letting them know why you're doing it, or and most time they know how much fun they're going to have, so they don't mind going out of their way to move their chair over a little, or change chairs or anything like that. So just giving them the opportunity to be able to share that.
That's awesome. Thank you. I think that that's a really important point of getting to know people before you kind of assess or judge them. And I think all of us would take some advice from our friends sooner than we would take it from a stranger. And so I think that that's a really great point, to focus on relationship building first. And so that you can truly come from a place of caring if you're expressing a concern to your elder, as opposed to coming from a place of maybe seeming like you might know more than them, or whatever the case may be. So I think that that's such a great point, Carol. Thank you so much. And the next person on my screen is the Tree of Peace Friendship Center. So if you have a question or an issue or a tip.
I'm wondering, like, I'm really interested in intergenerational connections. So how to do some kind of assessment when you have youth and elders involved.
Yeah, what a great question. Does anyone have any ideas about that? Off the top of my head, personally, I would say that it would be fun to do, if you're going to do assessments, it would be fun to do the assessment with everybody involved. I don't see why the youth cannot get involved with that. Kids love to be tested in something that they can do. And the elders would definitely get a kick out of oh no, don't run, it has to be walking, or whatever it is. I think I could see there being a lot of laughter and a lot of fun involved if you do involve the younger people. And it actually gives me an idea of how to make assessments more fun too, is if a larger group is doing it. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Great. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, lots of laughs and lots of fun. So that's good. And I really like the other ideas. Thanks for sharing that balloon Bamington in a circle. I think that'd be fun with youth and elders too. So I'm totally new to the elders' emotions, so I'm soaking it in. I won't really be able to contribute that much, but I'm definitely interested in learning more.
Great. Erin also says buddy system with younger and older could be a cool idea too. And Rena is trying, it looks like she has unmuted herself. So Rena, let's see if your speaker can work. Oh. I hear something.
There it is on here.
I think it was working.
She goes into the settings.
We can hear you, Rena. I think, unless Erin and them are talking. Oh, I think that was maybe Erin. So, oh, or Lily. Okay. Yeah, so Rena, I think if you are talking, we cannot hear you. That was somebody else. So if you have any ideas, maybe just try typing it, or chat with Amanda privately and she can maybe give you some ideas to try about the speaker if you're getting sick of typing. The next person I have is Tracy Hillis. If you have any ideas or questions.
You already asked me.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm going through my squares, but as people join and rejoin, it kind of changes. Sorry about that. Velma, did you have any?
No, I'm just enjoying getting everybody else's ideas here. They're sounding good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Lise, how about you?
I'm like Tracy, and I don't have a current program, but we are looking to supplement what's done in the community by offering additional programs. But one thing that I've noticed, like for this not risk assessment, but this assessment that people are doing, I know here we usually have, and it's not put on by us, but it's held in our facility. Health and Social Services puts on a health fair every year. And at the health fair, they have all the different community groups that'll come in, and they do just all different types of either assessments or information sessions and that kind of thing. So that might be one avenue to put in, you come into this session and, you're there all day doing assessments for people as they come up. So because everybody goes and they're trying all these different booths, so to speak, it's not where, they feel targeted or anything, because everybody's doing it, and it's a lot of fun because they have some really different types of booths and sessions that people can go to and find out information on. So that might be an avenue, is to attend some of those types of sessions that your community has, and you throw in a booth and offer to do assessments for people. And I know with ours as well, we have some of the like your Ingemal Hall will bring a bunch of people with them, so they'll come in groups as well. So that might help. Just a suggestion.
What a cool idea, Lise. I love that idea. And as I was listening, I was thinking that even if your community is not having a fair coming up, then you could kind of take that same idea that Lise had of, if you do have, like Erin mentioned, that their elders have a coffee group, or if you already have an Elders in Motion group or any kind of get together, you could kind of send the word out to the community that, okay, on such and such a day, we're going to have an open house, and you don't necessarily have to join the group every week, but you're welcome to come, and we're going to have assessments and snacks and these kinds of things, and have kind of a health fair vibe, but maybe not a total health fair. I think that's such a great idea and a great way to get a lot of people assessed. And for things like that, there are the ARC grants. So I haven't mentioned yet in this group or in this particular webinar, but the RPA has the active, I think it's active, resilient, connected grants this year. So for elders programs, you can get $1,000 for 3 elders events. And so that could definitely fund something like that if it's something that you wanted to do. Lily, you are next. And Lily, we're not able to hear you, so if you wanted to type your thing into the chat, I can read it out loud for you. And Marlene said, I don't have much on elders, but with my CHR courses, I did one Elders in Motion that I included in my Healthy Living Fair. Cool, same thing. It's where everyone did some small movements together, and the only other event I did was a falls prevention during home visit to make sure things are where they should be. For example, rugs, phone wires, etc. So I am just learning also. I'm also happy to say if I have questions or need to know more, I can contact either Lily or Rena. Yay! Which is awesome that you look to them as leaders, because I think Lily and Rena and many of you, Carol, all of you guys are really amazing resources. So I'm so glad to have this group and maybe connect more people to one another so we can help each other out more. Lily says hi. So Lily, just give us, if you have questions or issues or tips from your experience, let us know in the chat and I'll read it out for you. Lori Lee Joy, did you have any questions or tips or issues that you're experiencing?
So I actually have a tip that I use in my facility as more of an informal way to assess people and also a fun activity. So we do an exercise bingo or a chair exercise bingo. And in that, you can really test any sort of fine or gross motor skills that you want to put in there. Yeah, so everybody in the group is all doing the same activity or exercise at the same time. And it's a great way to get a look at who can do what, just getting them to do the best job while having fun and maybe getting some prizes at the end.
That's an awesome idea. So to frame it as an activity and not as an assessment, and just have yourself kind of watching and seeing how people are doing.
Exactly so. For myself, I model how the exercise or activity should be done. And then everybody just gives it a shot, and you can certainly keep an eye on those that you are really interested in seeing if they can accomplish that task or if they require assistance to do that. And I found that really takes the pressure off and gives you a great idea of what abilities they have.
That's awesome. That's a really great tip. Thank you. I also, as Lori, you were talking, I thought about some of the ideas that I've heard in previous Elder in Motion workshops where people like to do Elders in Motion type activities on the land. And even when you're out on the land, you can use those opportunities where people are getting up out of their chair or up out of the canoe or doing different things on the land and just kind of observe and see how they're doing. And if that's something that you do with them twice a year, it's definitely an opportunity to see how they're doing and see how the exercises are helping or not helping. So any kind of activity that you do on a fairly regular basis, even if it's a couple times a year, is an opportunity to assess how the elders are doing strength wise and mobility wise. Kim, do you have any questions or tips or issues?
Okay, sorry. I don't really run an assessment portion because what we like to do, I like to call it the rec center for seniors, is really what the Baker Community Center is. So I run an Elders in Motion and Strength and Balance program Monday and Wednesdays for half an hour. In class, I've got probably anywhere from 8 to 12 every day that we run it, plus online. And what I'm finding is, because it's only Monday and Wednesday, I have seniors that'll go back on Facebook and actually do it again, which I think is pretty cool. They can hear me complain somewhere else. I'm really liking this little girl spinning in the chair. She's making my afternoon, by the way. No, not her. Oh, so she's suspected. Sorry, Erin. I liked your daughter spinning in the chair. It's because we're, how do I say that? Because we are like, we're not health, but I want them to be healthy. Does that make sense? I don't run, so I'm not Avens. Hi, Carol. Sorry. I'm not, we're just the rec center. We have fun. That's all I got. But I do know that a couple of the ladies can now, for doing this for the last year, even during COVID, they get off their couch without having to roll on the floor on their knees to turn around and stand back up. They can actually get up from a sitting position. So I'm okay.
That's amazing. So Kim, how do you, as a recreation program that doesn't do formal assessments, how do you, because I know you guys do this, how do you make sure that your elders are safe and that the exercises are appropriate for the people that are coming?
Well, okay, so our classes are, because it's public, not like a senior's home. So I've got everything from line dancing, 2 different kinds of line dancing, to yoga. So it's kind of like going to the gym. It's self-assessed on your own. So that's about it. Like, do we help people? Yes. But we've modified a lot of our yoga programs. Our low impact cardio programs are done from a chair. Our Elders in Motion is all done from a chair, or the balance portion of it is done with a chair that has arms and, balanced properly so you can stand with it. So, but yeah, we don't do assessments.
Awesome. And so what I have from Lily, she says, I do Elders in Motion with elders and I am facilitator. I did one training here in Ulu. We went through the assessment and I think it is a good idea, and the elders know who I am and they trust me in trying to help them to be active and healthy. I think it would be good to have a group together and explain the assessment, and if they have any questions, they always know to just ask. She said she used the DVD player and follow along, and now she would like to make her own DVD from Ulu, which we've talked about with Emily as well, Lily. And I really hope that once COVID is kind of behind us, that we can get some either on the land or language DVDs done up for your region, which would be amazing. So before I close, oh, and she said also on her spare time on weekends, she goes for walks with younger elders also. Yeah, so I know that I have been to Ulu with Lily and done a bit of a co-facilitation, and I've witnessed one of the really cool ways to keep track of how elders are doing that Lily does, and she crosses the street to say hi to everyone. And so when we're walking just through Ulu or walking up the hill or out on the water, anybody that we see, she will cross the street and say, hi, how are you? And I think it's a respect thing and a, just kind of caring for your community thing. But it also, Lily, seems like something that she does to take care of people and keep track of them and kind of make sure that everyone is doing well and see if they need anything. So that to me was also something that I learned from her going to Ulu and kind of how to keep track of people without doing a formal assessment. Rena says, when I do the elders in motion, I have the elders do the exercise on the land, and the elders sure enjoy it, and it leads to conversation with laughter and fun. The elders sure enjoy the snacks, prizes, and company because some elders don't go out, and it gives them a chance to meet up with others from the community. I have a mixed group of home support clients and community elders. That's amazing, Rena. I see that we are at 3:03 and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I will leave the kind of chat open until 3:10 in case anybody has any additional questions or wants to bring up any extra tips or advice that they have. But I would love to say thank you so much to Wanda and see if she has any kind of closing comments on this topic.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I love listening to I love hearing from everyone what's going on in your communities and what's working for you and what isn't, and it helps me understand a little bit more about communities and connect with you all. So I really appreciate having been here. I think the only thing that I was thinking when I was listening to people, a few things kind of I guess I just wanted to speak to. One was Pat's question about her friend. And I'm not an elder and I don't like I guess I probably haven't been in your shoes in so many respects. I haven't been, but I always think if we approach people and tell them how much we care and that we're worried about them, that sometimes people can't be angry with you for maybe saying, in this situation, I guess, Pat, I'm thinking about your friend who maybe is having some challenges and you're worried about them, to actually just say those words. Say, I'm really worried about you. I really care about you. And so I'm wondering if we can maybe navigate this together in making sure that you're safe. And I know that that's maybe some assumptions in there about your friendship or about the situation, but I just want to thank you guys all for allowing me to be a part of it. I really have nothing profound to say. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wanda. So I have shared the facilitator training link in the chat, and I'm going to follow up with all of you with the recording from today. I will send safety information about who you can follow up with regarding injury prevention or safety devices and things like that. And I will also send a list of contacts to Pat regarding Elders in Motion leaders in Hay River. I don't think I'll send the list of people to everyone, but if you would like to know who are the Elders in Motion leaders in your community, I will be happy to send that to you individually. So let me know if you would like that and I'll send it to you. Erin, I will send you the link again. So thank you guys so much. I always learn so much, and I know that everybody does from all of you, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your week. We will see each other next month, and I'll be sending the emails out to you. So have a great day, and like I said, I'll leave the chat open until 3:10 for anyone who has any additional questions. Have a wonderful day, you guys.
Hi, Barry. I had a hard time connecting with my computer, so I had to connect with my phone, and then that's why you have me logged in twice.
Okay.
Because so I could hear and use the visual on my phone, but I can't use that on my computer. I don't know why.
Okay.
I
Oh,
could hear you.
interesting.
Yeah, I could hear you on my computer, but I don't have a mic or a visual.
Okay. So does the computer itself have a mic?
Yes, but
It does.
yeah, but it wasn't working. So,
Oh, interesting.
but
So
why
one of the
I
things,
opened
sorry, go ahead.
up the two, why I opened up the two was because it's easier for me to see everyone on the computer and see the chat. Because on my
Right.
phone, I could only see six,
Yeah.
yeah, 6 small little things, and I don't know who's all on. And then
Right.
I have to turn it off to see the chat.
Right.
So yeah, so I'll probably, if it's okay, if I could use the two for the next one too.
Definitely. Yeah, it doesn't affect us in any way. It's totally fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Okay, thanks for coming, Carol. I always really appreciate your contribution and your information. And I actually wanted to ask you if you wanted to do the 25-minute presentation in the future for one of our sessions.
Sure, if you
Yeah,
give me a heads up on the topic.
cool. Yeah, we could do that. So I was thinking maybe one of the ones, because I think we're going to continue until March. So we can have a phone call and chat about something that you think might be useful for your kind of demographic, and that would be really awesome.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, have a great rest of your day, Carol. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay. I'm like, I was just waiting for the number to disappear. Sorry, I just wanted to ask you, you had mentioned something about my contacts or something. So I just wanted to check in
Oh,
and see
yes.
what you meant.
Yeah, so I had asked you if you knew of anyone who would be good for some of our subsequent trainings, and you had given me, I'm just going to look for the email so I can quote you exactly.
I'm like, because you know what? I'm sitting here going, God almighty, I have no idea. And I feel really bad.
That's
But I
okay.
should have looked through on my emails as well.
That's okay.
Was that what you were looking for, Bree? Or was that
Yes.
like, was
No,
I a
that was
complete train
awesome.
wreck?
No, that was
Okay.
amazing. I was, for a little bit, I was wondering where you were going, but then it.
Well,
no, just because
and
I
I
was
was
like, oh, I thought we were doing assessments, but it was perfect because I think you gauged the group correctly, that not everybody knew about elders in motion, and it was good to have a little bit of review about why are falls important to think about and what is a fall and what could cause a fall, and then talking about the risk. I think that that was awesome.
okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I
that's
actually
great.
did have notes. I had things written down, but I was like, and the assessment piece, I didn't plan that out as well as I should have. I apologize for that.
Okay, I think it was great. I think it was really great. Okay, where is this email? In any
No,
case,
it wasn't
you
very kind.
no, I think it was great. And
The
you know
whole
what?
time I was sitting there going, hey,
I think that
sorry, go
this,
ahead.
oh, I was going to say, I think that this group is more receptive to informal conversations than formal presentations anyways. So I think it was really great. Yeah, I think you can
Well, and I
over
didn't want.
prepare, especially with people in the north.
Well,
Like I think
and
it's
you know
possible
what?
to
I
over
did
prepare.
like. I agree. I agree. Well, and if the conversation starts like coming, then you want people to be able to provide some, like, you want them to feel heard and you want people to be able to contribute, right? So
Right. I actually wanted to ask you your thoughts about the rest of the call and kind of whether you thought it was an effective way to run a session or whether there are some things that you would change.
I actually thought that was better than the part I was I was doing. I was laughing to myself because I'm like, oh my, Amanda asked me to come and talk about like facilitating online. I'm like, she could just ask Bree because Bree's doing a great job, was my thought. I actually thought that was really good. So I sensed in this group a real hesitance to talk or an inability to talk, and that makes it really hard as a facilitator to draw that what you want out from people, right? And I thought you did an excellent job of managing that because sometimes it can be even cumbersome having to look at the chat and continue talking. And I get tripped up with that a little bit because I have some attention issues, I think. So I find
Oh,
it
I always feel like
distracting.
I'm asking people twice, and then people say, "Actually, you already asked me." Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I think you did a great job. And I think that was this the very first session or was this?
No, this is the second session.
Okay. So is it
And
the
actually,
same
the
group
first
each
session,
time?
it's a mix. This group was much larger than the last group. The first one, I think we had 10 or 12 people in
Okay.
total, whereas this one, I think there's probably close to 18 or 20, but in and out. And the last session, I think because it was smaller, there was more chatting. It was also an easier topic to chat about. Last time we talked about how to incorporate all ages into your programming,
Okay.
which I think is just a little bit more tangible for a lot of people than assessing falls risk.
Yeah. Oh, you're
so-
still recording.
Oh,